Oh my god. I think we finally got audio. I think we finally may have done it. And we've done it. Oh my god, I am so sorry everyone. Oh my lord. And I feel so sorry for the boys at the moment. I have missed almost all of qualifying, rectifying that mic issue. I feel like a twat. An utter twat. Just gonna edit everything to have the new link. Looks like we've had Lane pick up pole in the BRZ, which is a huge result for him. A 54.5, that is absolutely rapid. And that'll be nothing to turn his nose up at whatsoever. With his championship rival, Ridwan, picking up second. Looks like we've still got somebody coming across the line. See if we can't figure out who that is. And it looks to be Maggiore Kid closing out with an unfortunate lap. Looks like he's picked up 15th position. But that is something to improve on, without a doubt. And there we have it, that is our starting grid. I'm hoping I have fixed this up now, so we can enjoy some live action. And it'll be Lane off pole with Ridwan second, Prying Stingray third, Lunacy and Blocky rounding out your top five. The second of the Preslins, arguably the first now, in sixth, with Dynamite in seventh, league owner Bailey Kennedy in eighth, Felix Preslin in ninth, and Bodhod rounding out your top 10. And we'll go down a little bit further to the second of the Revo drivers, Tim Ant in 11th, and Jamo in 12th, Roscoe in 13th, Staff Turbo in 14th, and Jay Smith Camaro Kid rounding out the field in 15th. And that is our grid for tonight's first race. And I'll just share this around now that I have fixed this link up. I wish the thumbnail was a little bit better. In fact, I might even try and fix this myself. I can't do it. Okay. We'll roll on. And hopefully we'll have a couple minutes now to just settle in and relax. I'll leave this on this screen here. You can see, is it just about 2 cars from each team? The BRZ's got 2 representatives in the top 8. GDR with only 1. It looks like we maybe... Was that a reset in the background? Yep, it's a reset. And that is for the race itself. We are about to be lights out here. Lane and Ridwan on the front row, these two with an absolute history behind them. And Tim, your strat is go fast, please, I beg you. I beg you. Lights out and away we go here at Maggiore, and a good start there for Lane. He's gotten the jump there on Ridwan. A bit of tussling at the back, we'll see as they pile into turn 1 here. Really tight complex to see if there's any kind of drama in here. Lunacy around the outside, not where you want to be. They're all 2 wide, maybe 3 wide. Into the back of the corners there, and they all seem to get through cleanly. Look towards the back there, there's a bit of bump and shove there. Dynamite tussling with the 2 other Supras behind him. And that's a little bit chaotic there as we see Lane still leading the field from Ridwan, Prying Stingray, Lunacy, and Blocky making his way. He's trying to tussle with Lunacy now. See what we've got on board here with Lunacy going into the bowl. Blocky trying to poke a nose down the inside. And does he get it done here? He does. You can see that Porsche right down the inside. Go back to Jack here, just in behind. He's got pressure from his brother now on lap 1, and a face full of Subaru in front of him. And these guys have just got to get through this first lap, settle in, and make sure there's nothing crazy going on. This is not the lap you want to be making do or die moves. As we go through here to the back straight, these guys trying to find their own piece of road, trying to find a bit of time where they can just settle in and find the rhythm. Lane, who is finding the rhythm very, very well in the first minute 20 of this race, but the big GDR behind him will not let up. There's one thing I can tell you about Ridwan, he will be an absolute pest for this race. He's really close to the chicane. Third and fourth going side by side there. Blocky trying to make a move on Stingray. There's a bit of contact there. Stingray, was he in the wall? That might have been Stingray in the wall. On board with Stingray, who's also dropped a spot to Lunacy, and he's got front damage as well, so that was definitely Stingray in the wall. Oh, and that's deciding to flick us all the way back, so that is some good bit of developer work from GT there. As I tried to get a review going. That's okay, on board with Stingray here, who was trying to clear that damage, and his teammate Jackie Prez right behind him might be smelling a bit of blood in the water if Stingray can't get this damage cleared in time. And he himself has got a bit of company here with his twin brother. Interesting stuff here at the conclusion of lap 1, and 4th to 7th are nose to tail right now. As our top 3 stream away, it is Lane, Ridwan and Blocky. Blocky with the absolute hole shot, making up some positions off the start. And oh, there's a bit of a dive there. Is that Bottled around? Oh yeah, it's Jack around, sorry. The Jack's gone spinning. So he's just rejoined there. And there might be a bit of a view of that one from the stewards. That might have been Friendly Fire. You can see Connor Butler, our favourite spectator, in the chat there. Oh, there's a bit of a dive there. Oh, I could have sworn that was going to end in tears from Staff Turbo, who has Roscoe and Tim behind him. Tim, who dropped a few spots off the start, so Tim must have gotten involved in something that we didn't see on lap 1. We'll try and avoid that and go back to the front, where Lane still has Ridwan for company, and I feel like I'm going to be repeating those words a couple of times throughout the night, as this is a super sprint round, so it is 3 races of 12 laps each. And I think these two are going to be our form guys. That is a great start from Blocky though. He's found a little bit of space here. 1.8 ahead, 1.5 behind at 1.6 now. So he's just streaming away from the Subaru BRZ behind him. Hello Josh. Josh, fantastic to see you. Welcome back to P1. This is what it's become. This is what we're doing right now in GT7. A couple of your old comrades here. Me and Lane, Ridwan, Blocky as well in P3, Lunacy P4. I was just going to start going through the tyres as well. Important to see that Lunacy is actually on mediums. So Lunacy on mediums, that's going to really shake things up going into the second half of this race. It is a tyre minimum of 3 laps, so we're using the mediums and the softs tonight in this race, and you've got to use each of them for a minimum of 3 laps. So Lunacy trying to get his laps out of the way early, and I guess go to the soft maybe around end of lap 3, end of lap 4 for a strong run to the finish, whereas the philosophy for the top 3 obviously is go hard real early. So that'll be really interesting, because I'm not sure where the other medium runners are. There's Stingray on mediums as well in P5. P6 we've got Felix, who's also on mediums, and Bodhod. That's not been too good for Bodhod then, so he's started on softs, and this is not what he wants to be looking at, where you've got 3 medium runners parked in front of you. So things will be tough for Bodhod here. He's going to have to dig deep if he wants to find a good result out of this. Dynamite here, Ryan Lowe, who has also found himself a bit of a nice spot, also on the mediums. I would assume that means BK also on the mediums, yes. And the same could be said here for Jackie Prez. So ideally you'd want to be on the softs. I'd want to be on the mediums, I beg your pardon. Jamo as well on the mediums. Tim on the mediums. Roscoe also on the mediums. Staff on the softs. Going to be a rough race for Staff. And it is Kamara Kid with a penalty at the back on the softs. Kamara Kid, who actually just recently bought a wheel, so he is finding his feet and struggling, but doing his absolute best. So props to him for sticking with it. We'll go back to the front here, and I wasn't going to say the magic words. I wasn't going to say that these guys are going at it, because we're going to be saying that a lot. Let's see what else we've got in terms of options. This is actually my first broadcast on GT7, so still figuring out what we've got in the way of options, because we've been trimmed down a little bit since GT Sport. And there we go, so Lunacy in the pits, so that's the first of the front runners, first of the medium runners to dive in And this is going to be a big undercut for Lunacy and Stingray, who's followed him in. These guys are banking on being pretty frugal on their tyres towards the end of this race, and hopefully they'll be able to make something happen. Tim Ant as well diving in towards the back there. No fuel going into the BRZ, importantly. It didn't look like Stingray was taking fuel in the AMG either, so these guys, very confident they can make the 12 laps on fuel. And that's a little bit awkward actually. Staff Turbo is just stuck in the middle of these guys, so this would be awkward for Staff to navigate. Staff, of course, running the beautifully liveried Revo Porsche, if I do say so myself. Were you in reverse at the start, Tim? That's a little bit awkward, mate. Okay, that's that might have been what I saw. The shenanigans at the back as Stingray there diving down the inside. Oh, was there contact? Let's see, actually, if we can get a action replay. I'm not sure if it'll let us. Yeah, there might have been a bit of contact there. Try to do it one more time, and we've actually gone out of it. So we do have the replay function. That is outstanding, and that'll be something that I will be reporting back. God, okay, that's awesome. I did not realise we had replays handy. I'm not sure what else we've got, but let's play around for a little bit, shall we? Let's stick on board with Stingray here for a little bit while we tool around with the options that we've got here for the broadcast. Obviously we've got all the race settings and options highlighted right now, so you can see what gear he's in, how fast he's going. You can probably see what he had for breakfast if you asked him politely. Oh, we've actually had a change to the lead, so I beg your pardon. I probably should have been up the front while I was tooling around with camera options. But Ridwan has overtaken Lane and is now sitting in P1, as we see now a bunch of the other medium runners have dived in, so they've taken upon themselves. That's a considerable amount of lag we're getting there from Ridwan, and a lot less from Lane. So we might just stick on with Lane here. Go on board with him as we see what he sees with this laggy West Australian Serbian boy out in front of us. Ah, yes. Good afternoon, Bendit. One of our reserves for tonight. Lovely to have you on board, mate. Real shame we couldn't have you out in the grid tonight, but for the first time all season, we've actually got all of our full-time drivers here. So I was actually on to be a reserve tonight as well, but I thought I'd take it upon myself to support the boys in another way and make sure everything was streamed. So all fine and dandy here. Not sure what else we've got in the way of options right now. We've still got these pretty cool camera views. Check on the tyre wear of Ridwan, who's doing pretty well in that big GDR. Lane looking after his rear tyres a little bit more. And Blocky just being a bit harder on the tyres, but it's paying dividends. Blocky, who missed round one, and no one really knew what was going to happen with the Porsches and with Blocky leading that team once again on track. But he's really performing so far. It's been a string of great results for Blocky, who is putting in some comfortable lap times. And too right, Bender, it is fantastic to have everyone on board for tonight. Bodhod especially, big shout out to Bodhod, who is feeling pretty under the weather tonight, so it's awesome to have him on board the Petronas AMG. And at the moment tussling with his teammate Jackie Prez, his team boss actually, who runs a touch wide through there. We'll just go on the top of Jackie Prez's car at the moment. He's been looking after his front tyres a little bit more than what Bodhod has. And I'll actually just have a look at the lap times too. So come across here, and that's a 55.4, so Jackie Prez is finding his feet. And it looks like Bodhod's just starting to lose the tyres underneath him. So we'll see if maybe there's a bit of a team game here, if Bodhod wants to sidestep. And I'm not sure that's the way I would have done it, but that's the way it's been done, as Jackie Prez goes into P4, and we'll see if we can actually get a replay going here. As here we go into turn one, and Bodhod, he's just gotten on the power a bit too early there, into the grass, and through goes his team boss. There we have it. This is how it's sitting right now. So Jackie Prez, 8 tenths now clear of Bodhod. And these guys will be starting to think about a tyre change as the soft runners are coming through the fields. The guys who started on the mediums ploughing on through now. Pro and Stingray leading that charge. And there we see him out of the rhythm section on brand spanking new soft tyres. probably going to be setting some very competitive lap times. Yes, it is, Josh, until I realised that I had muted my mic. It was actually what I was commenting on in qualifying. A big apology to everyone there, actually. I really should have been a little bit better than that one. I let my mic go muted, and I sat here banging my head against a wall for 15 minutes. Stingray, very eager on the throttle there, and the loud pedal was awaiting. But yes, I was just saying, actually, I'll go back to Felix, who is running that livery. As well, it's a very, very well put together livery. A lot of the lines reminiscent of the RJN cars that ran over in Europe, of course, with a couple of big names, Ricardo Sanchez, Struan Moore, Matthew Simmons, one of our own, amongst a handful of other drivers who all made their name driving that big GDR. This one, however, being the 2018 model, so they only ran this for a couple years before Nissan Motorsport kind of just decided that motorsport wasn't quite what they wanted to be doing over in Europe, and they focused more on the Japanese side of things, which is a big reason, of course, why we saw the Ultimas drop out of V8 supercars. So a bit of a tidbit for you there. It was a change in management that led to a massive shake-up in what Nissan means to GT racing today. But you guys aren't here for a history lesson, you're here for a bit of GT racing, and these boys are bringing it to you right now, as Stingray and Lunacy using all of the track and more, coming out of turn 4 there. So don't think the stewards will be looking too hard at that one. That is a allowed track limit via the game, so we'll let that one slide. There's a bit going on back here. We'll just go in and check with BK, who of course is on the fresh softs as well, setting low 55, so a little bit far of what he wants to be doing. You can see Lunacy with a 54.2, so he's been absolutely pushing in behind Stingray. I believe he's sitting P7 at the moment. He is hunting these guys down. This is the Krusty Krab BCP. Welcome. Good to have you watching, mate. Fantastic, in fact. This man has scared me at Eastern Creek many a time now. For those of you who don't know, I actually work at City Motorsports Park, and having seen that very large man from a couple kilometres away, just about, that is something I didn't think I'd be seeing. I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, but we will catch up with our leaders who have just stayed together for the most part. We're on lap 7 now, and these guys finishing that lap onto the 8th lap now, and the lap times are bulletproof from both Ridwan and Lane. Same couldn't be said for Ridwan's net, as this is getting, yeah, it's seen better days. This is much easier to watch. Much easier to watch. Of course, you can see that big number 1 on the side door of Lane's car, and that of course is an ode to his championship for the final season of GT Sport. It was a very, very well won championship. I didn't avoid you. I genuinely was very busy that weekend, and I will have to keep you updated. In fact, why don't we just go get some food? You can give me my gift and I will show you some food. You can go on a cruise on your bike, I'll go on a cruise in my car. Be a nice little date. Yep, I think that's been organised. Look at me, setting myself up to get murdered. A bit like Blocky's tyres, in fact, that front left has seen better days, and Blocky surely would be thinking about a pit stop by now. Now, those of you who are familiar with GT7, you'd be aware that these tyres aren't really as worn as what they show. There was an update a couple of months ago where all of the tyre wear, as Blocky decided to take the extreme inside line there for the bowl, yeah, all the tyre wear just got completely ramped up, and the car didn't feel any worse, but the tyre wear graphic indicators, these guys are super close now, just started displaying much heavier than what they had. Just see if we can get a good view from Lane again. Here we go. This is on board the hamburger cam on the BRZ. Let's see who blinks first. Is there an undercut coming here from Lane? No. Oh. Wow, Ridwan was out in the dirt there while I was thinking he was going to pit. So Blocky's going to continue as well. Jackie Prez. This might be the lap that Jackie Prez calls it quits here. This might be the one he comes in. Yes, there he goes. He's diving in. Bodhot, his teammate, diving in behind him, and that releases the shackles of Stingray, who is out in the dirt when we picked him up there, so he was well out wide, kicking up the marbles. And you can see them all in the background running that extreme outside line. So they were all thinking the same thing. BK coming down the straight. And this has been a big loss here for Jackie Prez and Bodhod, who are coming out well behind where I'm sure they would have liked to have. You can see they now rejoin the field 9th and 10th. Fresh mediums, but they're never really going to regain the pace of what those soft runners have right now. So that's going to be game for Bodhod and Jack. So we'll go on to the leaders now. Ridwan, who seems to have pulled out a little bit more of a gap to Lane there. And I'm really concerned about this undercut now. I honestly think Stingray's pulled a bit of a masterclass here. I'm going to call it now. If nothing crazy happens, I think Stingray's got this race. I think the pace from Ridwan and Lane has been absolutely immense. But that undercut from mediums to softs has been huge. While these two have been punching at, you know, high 54s, mid to low 55s, even the odd high 55 from Ridwan. It's been Stingray who's just been sitting back there, and look at those times from Stingray. I think this is going to be a bit of a shake-up. Lunacy as well is right behind him. Lunacy, of course, with the fastest lap of 54.2, and he hasn't left the 54 since he's pitted either. So I think these two are just going to leapfrog up to the podium and scare everybody. This is going to be really interesting. Here we go. So this is the lap they have to pit. Ridwan dives in, Lane dives in, Blocky, of course, will dive in as well. And this will leave Prying Stingray to push like he has never pushed before and reel in this top 3. We'll go on board with him now. And this is going to be the moment of truth. He's going to come around this final corner. And this is where he's going to see the guys. He's going to see them come out of pit exit. So Ridwan, there he is. There's the big GDR. There's the BRZ behind him. And he's going to get Blocky as well. We'll see if Lunacy has too. Lunacy's got him. And Blocky filters in P5. So these two, the first of the medium runners, have ended up 3 and 4. And now it is an absolute high-speed chess battle. Are these guys going to pick off Ridwan and Lane? They might be out of laps, you know. That is a much bigger gap than I thought there would be. Oh, Stingray. You can clearly see how hard he's pushing that AMG. And you can just see those two off in the distance. There's a bit of an air gap between them too. So Ridwan's just been able to clear out a little bit from Lane as Stingray goes bowling wides there for fun. It's Stingray, Lunacy and Blocky back here. Blocky on fresh tyres as well. I'm not sure he'll have the grip in the mediums to get to these two. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on this battle. Felix settled in P6 with Ryan behind him in P7. And these guys will have a tussle. They are two heated competitors, these guys, and they do not like each other. And I think that just makes every single time they battle that much sweeter. You can see now the straight line advantage that Supra has, and there is 2 of them behind Felix Presland. He's going to have his hands full towards the end of this race. There we go, Jack. After that unfortunate spin, 6 seconds behind Bailey and 10.5 ahead of Jamo. So that is a race to forget for Jack. And we will let him have his moment back there in P9. Not how he would have wanted things to go. And Jamo now has got Tim for company. Tim, who has got softs on that have seen better days. And you can clearly see that in the way that car's working. Let's see what he can do going forward. In that air gap between Ridwan and Lane, you can just see them heading down the main straight now into turn 1. And that has checked out a fair bit more. But we'll go back here to 3rd and 4th. With 2 laps remaining, is Lunacy going to try something to get on this podium? I'll say it now, they are not catching the top 2 fast enough to challenge for 1st or 2nd, but Lunacy, he's going to try and capitalise on every opportunity he's got now, and Prying Stingray is sitting in his sights, so this will be something he tries to line up. Blocky behind, who looks like he might be just punching into absolute thin air for the rest of this one. And as long as he keeps it straight, he should bring home a very solid top 5 finish. Although that does actually explain his rapid start earlier on. We were commenting on how quick Blocky was out of the blocks. And that's why, isn't it? Soft tyres from the start. And he's that much quicker as Dynamite. He's that much faster in the straights. He is all over him now, coming into this rhythm section. And Felix is a little bit offline now. Here we go. This is where it's going to happen. Focus on the run. Oh, he stepped it wide. Dirty air wreaking havoc on the Kennedy Motorsport driver. He's got the run now. And we'll watch that time just keep on coming down. 3.5 tenths. Down to 3 tenths. He's just not close enough for a dive. The Dynamite might leave it to the final lap here. Might just save his chickens. Probably saving everything to be absolutely thrown at the final lap. And here we go. This battle's heating up as well. Jamo and Tim. Jamo with a car absolutely superior. Oh, he's got a car backwards there. And it's Kamara Kid, who is backwards in front of the leader, so that's a little bit awkward. Hopefully that doesn't throw off anyone too badly. These guys coming through, it's going to be Felix, Ryan, and Bailey all coming through. Oh, there's contact there! That was relatively heavy contact for Bailey, and that has completely... Actually, he's lost entirely. That was absolute chaos. It was the car of Kamara Kid there. He's coming through with a pretty subpar rejoin. And we'll see if we can quickly have a look at that replay. He was off in the marbles. He's just trying to get off that fence. You can see he's caught on the fence. And I commented on all these guys coming through. He's caught reverse. Oh, and he's just reversed in front of the field. Oh, no. And there's Bailey, who, of course, copped the raw end of the stick there. And he's back there in ninth. That's really unfortunate for Bailey, but we're on the final lap now. Little bit of chaos to end our race, but it's Ridwan who's now opened up a 1.5 second gap over Lane. And you'd probably be making a safe bet to say Ridwan will not throw this one away. The FP Autosport driver has not put a foot wrong since the start. He grabbed Lane as soon as he could, looked after the tyres, and on this medium stint for the final 3 laps has absolutely walked it. Lane, of course, doing what he can, but the straight line depths of this thing is just not that punchy out of the corners. And Stingray, who has absolutely used and abused those soft tyres, looking like he'll be coming home in P3. Lunacy, not much more life on his front either, so that has been life well spent for those Yokohamas under the BRZ. Blocky still looking like he is fighting thin air back in P5. We'll just go through. We'll have a look here. Ridwan, he deserves all the praise he gets. He is an absolutely top tier operator, and he'll come around the final corner here, Ridwan, and he'll put his name on the very first race of the Supersprint season, and it's Ridwan who wins it from Lane. Prying Stingray will come home P3, Lunacy P4, Blocky with a very satisfying P5 after that great start, Felix for P6, and Ryan will be P7. Jackie Prez, who inherited that spot from Bailey, will come home P8, and that is a frustrating one for him after the way his race was. And Bailey Kennedy, that was a very subpar way to end his race, and he will be absolutely fuming. Jamo managed to hold off Tim to close out the top 10, and Tim with 11th. And here we see Bodhod, who just didn't really have the pace, probably had it for a top 10, and for one reason or another has slipped back to 12th. He'll come in back there. Roscoe in 13. We see Kamara Kid as well crossing the line in 15th. And it will be Staff Turbo, who has had a bit of an up and down run in that Revo Porsche, who will close it out in 14th. Very true, Josh. That was a huge win. And that's our field. So there we go. The very first Super Sprint race of the night. And it is points to Ridwan. So well done, Ridwan. There we go, the FR Bono suit being rocked. And that is a very, very convincing win. But we change things up now, and we will see how it all goes, because we go reverse grid racing for the next one, which means, of course, Ridwan, despite being the winner, God, that was a nice one. It'll be Jay Smith Kamara Kid on pole. Just go to the PSNs here, actually. So yeah, Kamara Kid on pole for the next race, followed by Staff Turbo. That'll be your front row, with Roscoe and Bodhod following in behind. Tim and Jamo on the third row together, and it'll be BK and Orphan Drop, old friends, who will be sharing the row behind them. Dynamite and Perezzo, the inseparable duo, will be rounding that one out behind them, with Blocky and Lunacy taking in the third last row. Stingray and Lane Everingham will be in behind there, and Ridwan will be very lonely on the 8th and final row of the grid, thanks to that win of his. I will leave you guys to have a quick little break. We'll be back amongst things in no more than 5 minutes, and I will rest the voice quickly as we get prepped. There will be 2 more races of 12 laps each, and I hope you will join me for both of them. I will be back in a short while. Ah, and here we go. Back again. And I may have led everyone astray. I'm not entirely confident that this will be a reverse grid. I'm just searching for a bit of confirmation from the league admin. But at the moment I'm going to assume it's just going to be a progressive grid, which means it will be Ridwan who leads us off from pole. So I've just given everyone the big run up saying, oh, it's going to be a reverse grid. And I may have sold everyone a bit of a dummy. What we can do right now is we can see all the tyres people are going to be on, and I dare say there's going to be a few people that have learnt to go with the mediums. I think Stingray scared a lot of people with that strategy. And unless your name is Ridwan Hamza or Lane Everingham, I'm not sure you go with the soft tyres. And in saying that, there's Ridwan in off pole, who will probably be sticking with those soft tyres. Looks like Tim's feeling confident with himself and he'll go with the softs as well. Bodhod going with the softs, and Lunacy as well. And it looks like Lane is going to try something different. And to be honest, if you're the guy that came second, why not? And there we go, I actually have had confirmation it will be a reverse grid. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell him. I'm just going to get a change done. Sorry, there's just been a bit of a mix-up with the grid here. It's been a bit more than a 5-minute interval now, but there is still a bit of shuffling going on to this grid. Just trying to get confirmation because it's all surrounding the pole sitter currently. It's just whether or not it'll be Ridwan on pole. It will be Kamara Kids. There we go. So yeah, this has been fixed up now, and it's Kamara Kid up front with Staff Turbo in behind. Sorry, there's a few conversations going in behind. We'll see if there's anyone trackside, and Lane is getting used to those mediums, I dare say. And I think that's a very, very good option. I apologise, there was a bit of chatter going in the background there, but it seems we are ready to go racing. And racing we will go. So there it's going to be Kamara Kid and Staff Turbo off the front row. And we can actually go on board here for the start. So here we go, we're going to have the perfect view. We'll go from Roscoe. We'll go from Bodhod. Yeah, we'll go from Bodhod for the start. And here we go. 4 lights, 5 lights. And we're racing now for race 2. Bodhod with a blinder. Bodhod splits the guys on rows 2. Jack as well, so that AMG is well suited to standing starts. Oh, Jack's going sending it in there to turn 1. There's a couple of guys out in the weeds. Oh, there's a bit more contact there. That might have been BK out, and that is someone going very wide. So I think that was Kamara Kid who has decided to just step out of the way of everyone. Might not have been the worst idea he's had tonight. And that is meaning we're looking very different already in our top 10. Just trying to get a gauge on everything. There's a lot going on here. Staff has slipped back to P8. He's got Ryan all over him, so it could be P9 shortly. These guys diving into the bowl, and Blocky as well, right down the inside of his teammate. And there's so much going on. The Kennedy car's going side by side, exiting the bowl there. Bit sideways there, but I think that was Jamo. Getting all out of shape there on the inside. Staff door banging with Lunacy. This is not where Lunacy wants to be on the outside, and he'll just make it stick, I think. Staff having to settle in there. And it's Blocky! No, it's Tim! Tim sideways! Oh, and I've got no idea, absolutely no idea how the field missed him there. That was absolutely terrifying, and Tim has been left to rue. A massive mistake there. Oh, and I'm pretty sure that was Felix in P6. I have no idea how he missed him. So you can see Tim there, who's run really wide. He spins across. Oh, fantastic bit of driving there from Felix, who has ended up in P6 as a result of that mistake from Tim. That was a big one too. That could have been a massive incident at the end of the rhythm section. Huge. Absolutely huge. So we'll just go back to the live chat because I managed to break it. Yep, okay, so it was Kamara Kid saying he was nervous about the reverse grid. Sorry about that one, mate. Although, probably wasn't a bad idea at all to sidestep these guys. There's Roscoe and Stingray getting into things, I think, at P2 and P3. And it's probably not a bad idea to remind ourselves what tyres everyone's on. So Bodhod's gone for the soft start, so he will be trying to rampage away from the field. Roscoe as well. And Stingray committing to what worked for him last. And look at the train behind Stingray right now. You've got Jack, Ryan, Felix, Lunacy and Blocky all behind him. And wanting to get by the AMG man. Oh, there's a bit of a tussle back there as well. I think that was Jamo back there, who had a Porsche behind him. And maybe it was an AMG as well. As Ryan now having to look for Jack in his rearview mirrors. Ryan's got the softs on, so he really needs to clear prying Stingray as soon as possible. This is becoming very detrimental to his race if Stingray sticks ahead of him. And Jack, who's out wide. Jack's out wide now. Oh, he's collected Lunacy. And I think that may have worked in his favour to regather that car. Although he has lost a spot now to his brother, and Blocky as well will be gaining after that one. That was a huge moment. That nearly went down exactly how Tim's did. And he will be counting his lucky stars that he isn't at the back of the field right now. Go back to our outboard shots. These lovely camera views that Gran Turismo provides us with. And all these guys, of course, setting purple sector times right now. As there we go. So Dynamite's managed to clear Stingray now, and Roscoe's disappeared. So Roscoe's gone backwards. I think that was during the rhythm section. I did actually notice him ahead with a half-second penalty. So that's been an unfortunate way to start the race for the FP Autosport man. And it's going to be a race of survival now. He's got his team captain in behind on the mediums. I said Blocky there's under pressure from Jack. Sorry, so it's Blocky's picked up Jack. Just catching myself up, and our winner from race 1, Ridwan, who has had a very slow start back in P9, so he's just kind of settling into things, and I guess maybe just trying to make sure his lag's not affecting anyone too harshly, which I think is a very, very sensible way to go about things. BK, who is back in 10th and very sideways, just showing us the rear end of that Supra. Showing off a little bit, and Lane as well. So actually both our main boys from last race had very, very tame starts, 12th and 9th respectively. So have a look at Staff as well, who's dropped off the pack a little bit. Tim, who had that huge moment, absolutely massive, and Kamara Kid, who did the gracious thing and stepped out after turn 2. And we now know that was just down to not wanting to get in anyone's way, which, again, he's just learning the wheel, so I think a very good idea. But Bodhod now with a very comparable set of tyre wear as Lunacy looking to go around the outside of Stingray. I think Lunacy understands the desperation he needs to show here as well, as he's poking a nose there. doesn't quite get it done. But he knows just how quickly he needs to clear Stingray here. Stingray is probably going to try and dig out the Johnny Bow book of defensive moves. And there's probably going to be very few of you, if any, who will ever watch this video and understand what that is. But Stingray might consider a pit stop here, as it's lap 3, and he's going to dive in already. So, very smart from Stingray. He's held his own in P3, and he can just get back out there and put the softs on. So, I think that was the second AMG in the background there who did the same thing. Yes, it was Jack. So, team captain as well coming in, which leaves Bodhod as the only one out there on the soft tyres for Team AMG. Oh, and Jamo just running wide there in turn 2, and that's going to let Lane back through. Lane, who of course is on the mediums, so he's not overly concerned with how hard or how far he's pushing through. Of course, Ridwan would have picked up a couple of spots now, thanks to a few pit stops. He's back in P6, sorry I was on the wrong GDR. You've actually got a GDR 456 right now, so these guys are just settling in into the top 5. And Ridwan will probably be hunting for a way through Roscoe sooner rather than later, with the soft tyres underneath it. Oh, he's just being held up here. This isn't good for Ridwan's race. Roscoe probably needs to be a little bit more aware now that he's got the quickest guy, and Ridwan's picked up a penalty. So this is not the way Ridwan wants this to be going. He'll dive down the inside here, and he'll make sure of it. So Ridwan down the inside up into P5, but he's got to make sure he clears Roscoe now before he serves that penalty. So that's a bit of an unwanted convenience from Ridwan, and Bodhod all this time is going to know that there are guys well back in the pack who will be coming towards him. And will be chasing him down in the latter stages of the race. But for now, it's Bodhod who is the pace, the gauging point, the man in P1, and Dynamite chasing him down, wanting to take that spot over. See just how quickly that gap has closed in, and Lunacy as well is coming along for a ride. Just saw Felix in the background pitting to get off those medium tyres. So now is the time. If you're on a medium tyre, it is absolutely time to get off it. And the softs are waiting. There is a much greener side over that bridge, believe me. There's a lot of grip for the soft tyre to give you. So Blocky's come in as well, and so has Jamo. So those three have taken the time to peel into pit lane as the staff. We'll just watch Jamo here put on the softs. Out and gets a 3-second penalty as well for his troubles. So that would have been pit entry. There's only 3-second penalties handed out in race for pit lane cuts, and that is on entry and exit. So that's really unfortunate for Jamo. Bit of a lapse in concentration, you'd assume, coming in. The pit lines can be difficult, and it's well worth practicing them, believe me. So yeah, there's 3 seconds that Jamo did not want to add to his race. It's rather fortunate actually that he's got a further 10 seconds back to Staff, who has just come out of the pits, and he's doing his best not to run wide there in turn 4. And then Kamara Kid as well, who has, I believe, also just made a stop, and he is kind of just trundling around turn 3 right now. Let's go back here as Bodhod's got a little bit more company, so these guys are kind of just closing up to him together. And they're going to start applying the pressure of kind of from here on in. I think maybe next lap, maybe the lap after it, Ryan's going to be able to be within sniffing distance. He'll get a very, very good look at the rear end of that AMG. And I'm sure he'll want to give that AMG a good look at the rear end of that Supra if things go his way. It's a little bit frustrating, just this this refueling image that we've got here. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure how we're going to be able to fix that. Especially not on the fly. So we'll just roll with it. This top 3 is going to give us something to look at, that's for sure. And now that the fuel isn't giving us anything to look at, we can really focus on these guys. Bodhod skips over the curbs at turn 1, and Lane going a lap longer on the medium. So God, they are going to be soft. Well, obviously they're going to be soft tyres going on that BRZ, but they're going to be very, very fresh. And Lane is going to be someone to watch, especially in the closing 2 laps. That disparity of tyre life that he's going to have is going to be considerable, to say the least. And we might just jump on board with Lunacy here, going on with a hamburger cam. Hamburger, that's a new word. And he's just see that mid-corner speed he's able to carry compared to Ryan. And interesting there, Lunacy deciding to focus on the line coming into the rhythm section rather than stay in the slipstream of Ryan, which I think is a really sensible move. Just allows him to really maximise this run. It's unfortunate he actually caught a bit more dirty air than I thought he would have. And he's killed the run a little bit. Just look at that speed from the Supra. Closing in on the AMG, and that is just about there. He could have made a dive there. And yeah, the AMG is very, very wide. Yep, that's all I wanted to say there. That is a wide AMG. And Ryan, he's got a bit of a sniff. He's got the nose in. Is he going to have a dive here? And Dynamite's never one to shy away from a battle. He keeps it within track limits, and Bodhod just holding his own around the outside. So there we go. We've seen the first punch thrown, and we've seen Dynamite now show his hand. So Bodhod knows now. He knows where he's a little bit quicker. And he's just going to have that run that little bit more defensively going forward if he wants to hold on to P1 any longer. Go again. Ryan's really close to him coming down this straight. He's got that straight line speed. Bodhod goes defensive, shows him the outside line, and Dynamite doesn't want a bar of it. Oh, and he nearly loses it there as well. Oh, that would have been heartbreak for Dynamite, who's finally in a position where he might just grab a race win. But regathers it. And he'll just keep his head here, because he knows he's got the speed. Go back and check in now, actually, with how everybody else on this strategy is going. Lunacy, of course, is running with these top two. But I just have this sinking feeling these guys are slowing each other down right now. Grid 1 in P4, who has been... I did notice, actually, last lap, he had absolutely cannoned his way forward. He's been setting low 55s on the softs, which is exactly the sort of pace he needs to. And he is becoming a threat ever so quickly. And there we go, Prying Stingray, the first of the guys who started on the mediums. And look at the gap behind him, over 5 seconds back to Felix, who is on the same strategy, and he's even got a further 2 and a bit back to Blocky, who is currently our fastest car on track. And might just actually look at the tyre life of these guys. No, so they've come in on the same lap, so that kind of won't be any disparity between them later on. And Jack's going to try and tag along as well. Then you've got Bailey in behind him, who will be hunting down Jack, and I tend to think that Supra could be a little bit quicker than the AMG right now. And then Lane with the freshest tyres on the grid right now. And this will be a guy you want to be watching. This is probably the guy who is going to pick off P9, pick off P8, maybe even P7 in the closing stage of this race. Go back up, and Bodhod running that outside line again. There's Lunacy. So Lunacy blinks first out of these top guys. And Lunacy's going to be the guy trying to get an undercut done. And we'll kind of make a bit of an assumption here. Maybe where Lunacy's going to come out. This is going to give us a great idea. It's going to paint a picture as to where the top two will come out as well. So here we go, Blocky out of the final corner. There's Lunacy in the BRZ. Actually, it's right alongside Felix there. And Felix just jumps him. And that is interesting. So if there's one thing that you can take from this, I would say that Prying Stingray is about to find himself in a big, big lead. Because Lunacy, who was right on the back of Bodhod and Ryan, I'd probably say Ryan was about where Felix is now, so Felix might benefit a little bit from this as well. And Bodhod's going to be no further down the track than what Stingray is. And Stingray, yeah, he's definitely going to take the lead here. So Stingray has pulled a blinder. And I called last race this strategy was finding him time, and he is just proving it once again. With a very, very sturdy drive. Of course, still a few laps to go, so anything can happen. But I'm calling it once again Stingray, and I'm absolutely praying I'm not wrong this time. But I feel like this is going to go all the way. And what's happened there? So Bodhod taking defensive into this little chicane. Ryan found himself down the outside. He's now very, very heavily... Oh, there's a lot going on right here. Let's actually go on board from Rid 1. This will give us a bit of a better view. So Bodhod gets the run out of there. Rid 1 now looking for the attack on Ryan, who probably knows one of these guys is going to pit. No point throwing something silly right now. And it's going to be Dynamite only. Okay, so Ridwan decided not to pit there. He was definitely thinking of doing it if these guys didn't. But instead it was Dynamite who decided to come in. And I think given that scrap just then, Lunacy's probably going to jump him. So let's just watch Lunacy here, who is being hunted by Blocky. So Lunacy doesn't have the pace in those Yokohama medium tyres. But Ryan now coming out of the pits. And Lunacy's going to grab him. Blocky as well around the outside. Blocky picks him as well. So that is the undercut working wonders there for Lunacy, who is still getting sideways there out of turn 2. And Blocky as well, picking up a position there where you didn't really expect him to. So Blocky, who is again just finding a little bit of form in these races and still carrying high 54s, low 55s. So Blocky really quick right now. Might still be the quickest car on track. Yeah, Bodhod, you can see that front tyre life has gone away from him. And all the while these guys are slowing each other up. Prying Stingray is still coming. Here we go. So Ridwan, he's got an opportunity here. He's looking at him down towards the bolt. And these guys will go side by side. And they're just trading the lead here. Ridwan with a little bit more straight line speed. And he's going to be very deep on the brakes here. And oh, there's so much lag from Ridwan's car. But one thing's for certain, he has taken the lead now on lap 9. And Ridwan has got to be putting his head down. Because there you go, you can see him in the background there. Prying Stingray, who, mind you, does not need to make another pit stop. So Stingray's done all the hard work early, and he's built that gap. There's only 8 seconds between the leader and Stingray. And it does not take 8 seconds to make a pit stop. It's going to be far more than that. So Felix as well. Felix has picked up the pace. I reckon he's on for P2 here, Felix. And Ridwan, and oh, someone's in the wall. Oh, it's Bodhod! Bodhod's lost it! Oh no, from second he spinned it again! Oh no, it's all gone wrong! Oh, what's happened there? He's having such a good race. Oh, we'll just see if we can get a better view of that. And we've just caught the trail end of it. Not sure he's caught the wall. And then as he tries to rejoin... Oh, he just pins the throttle too early. Oh, it's all gone to hell in a handbag for Bodhod. Oh, no. And that just leaves... Okay, so we thought Bodhod was going to be somewhere in this equation. He's struck out now. Let's not look at that. So Ridwan's come in, and here we go. I called it early. Stingray has taken the lead of this race. So Stingray now, who is just chipping away oh so quietly. And I'm sure there are a fair few people who knew it, but Stingray... in the lead of this race now. We'll go back. There's a bit of a scrap going here. So Blocky and Lunacy, we knew this one was coming as well. Blocky's been punching out some great lap times there, side by side now, banging wheels. Lunacy and Blocky not giving each other an inch, and Lunacy holds the position. So Lunacy now, you got to wonder how long can he keep this going. This Blocky's softs are red hot right now, and he will be all over him. Blocky's showing what that Porsche's got. Japan versus Germany. That's not something you would have heard 50 years ago. I think I got my yearage a little bit wrong there. But Blocky trying to make something happen here. The ball goes deep. Can he pull it up? No, not quite. So Lunacy on the switchback. This is some great racing here between these guys. These seasoned veterans of P1. And they are turning it on right now for all 4 of you in the stream chat. Well, in the stream, I should say. There's no one in the chat. I am absolutely talking to myself here. And Ridwan actually has lost a lot more ground than I expected him to. So Ridwan back in P5. And that's not a place we're used to seeing the 4-time champion of Project 1. As we go here, entering the penultimate lap. As we go through the final corner, we'll check in now with Stingray. And this is going to be an assailable lead for Stingray. Sure, he's used his tyres, but it's just not going to be enough for Felix. Stingray's still punching some very solid lap times, and catching him from here would be absolutely momentous. Lunacy and Blocky, we know, having this huge scrap right now for the final podium placing. And look at the train behind Ridwan. And he's got to be careful here, because, of course, Bailey, with the straight line speed of that Supra, will not be afraid to throw one at him. Of course, he doesn't have the tyre life right now, but he doesn't lack the confidence. And here we go as well. Lane getting a bit of a sniff on Ryan here, and he's going to have to make it very, very audacious Down here into the bowl. Oh, and he's not quite late enough. As we'll see, they're going side by side. Couple of technical difficulties there as we're back on here with Lane, still trying to get by Ryan, and he's just struggling a little bit to make it happen, and there's only one lap to go as well. We'll go up now with Blocky, who will not stop this fight with Lunacy as well. The Porsche versus the BRZ, and this is a fight that we haven't seen in real life either. Of course, the RSR not being pitched up against the BRZ ever in World Motorsport. So we're seeing it now and live on Project 1 eSports. Lunacy v Blocky Rex. Who have you got for the podium, guys? Who is going to grab it on the final lap now? And there are only a handful of chances remaining now to put your name on a bronze on the third spot of the podium. No, you ain't. I wish I knew what that was in reference to. But thank you, Tinsel, for interacting. Literally every comment improves the interaction of the algorithm and whatnot. It improves our chances of somebody stumbling upon this very, very strange bout of racing that we've got here. These guys. Oh, I just got the feeling it's opened up a little bit more. Lunacy, though, wide in the bowl. He's just struggling for grip. Of course, fresh mediums. We know the mediums don't really have it in relation to even worn softs. And Lunacy now with the fuel light on. Blocky, fuel light's not on. And you cannot accuse either of these guys of not trying right now. Stingray is well off in the lead. Felix has got P2 sewn up, and it's still Lunacy and Blocky who are dicing for that P3. Blocky desperately trying to show what he can do, and there was a bit of a change of position back there, and it's Lane! So Lane's picked up P7, and that is going to be an important move going forward. And Bailey has fallen off the back of Ridwan, so that's not going to happen for him. And Blocky and Lunacy, I'd say this fight's been hard. I'd say it's over. And I would say Lunacy has done enough to hang on to P3, but it's Stingray, the man that we're applauding, and the alternate strategy has finally paid off for him. He's going to pick up race 2, and the points that go with it. Prying Stingray wins in the AMG. A great drive from him. And then it is team captain Felix Breslin who picks up P2. That is a great drive from Felix. Lunacy P3, holds on from Blocky P4. Ridwan doing some squiggles for P6. BK in P6, sorry. And then Lane in P7. Dynamite comes across in P8. Jackie President P9 right behind. And then a bit of a gap back to Jamo, who has a safe P11 in the books right now. Come around that final corner. And then, of course, what can we say about Bodhod that we haven't already tonight? That is bad luck at its worst for Bodhod, who is in a position absolutely to hold on to a top 5 finish. And Bodhod will be back for the third race, hopefully better and bigger. Tim, who comes in behind him, 13th. A quiet race for the winner back when he was with Revo a few seasons ago. Staff in P14. And he will lead Camaro Kid, who once again did, in fact, bow out early to make sure there were no issues between him and the rest of the field. And we'll just watch him come across here. Bit of a track to go. But of course, he can't be fast by anyone. So we'll take this time again just to run you through how our positions were. Of course, it was Stingray who won the race with that alternate strategy. Was never really looking in doubt once that medium worked out for him. Felix, who just got it all right. Nothing really went against him that race. He had the pace, he had the tyre life, and he kept his nose clean. And he was rewarded with P2, so a very, very experienced drive for Felix Preslin, and Lunacy as well, holding on to P3. He put up the big fight. He had Blocky all over him, and these two side by side on the cooldown lap. And these are AI, I remind you. But there we have it. So that makes it 2 races, 2 separate winners, and Stingray with a commanding victory over the field for race 2. And we'll just flick over now to the results. And there you have it. So one more time, just for the record books, it is Stingray, Preslin, and Lunacy who round out your top 3. Blocky and Ridwan is your top 5, followed by BK, Lane Everingham, and Ryan. And I'll see if I can't do next with the keyboard. I can. Jackie Prez and Roscoe round out your top 10, followed by Jamo, Bodhod, Tim-Ant, Staff Turbo, and Kamara Kid. That is your field for race 2. And so we'll flip it around one more time for race 3. So Kamara Kid and Staff Turbo off the front row. And it'll be Tim and Bodhod off row 2. And Bodhod, of course, will be the guy to watch. That AMG with something like a rocket booster in the back of it. The starts that thing is getting, absolutely ridiculous. And then it will be Jamo and Roscoe off row 3 behind him. Row 4 will be compounded of Jackie Prez and Ryan. So those guys off row 4, with Lane and BK off row 5. So Lane will be very quick in the middle of the pack there, and you've got to wonder what tyres you'll go with there. And then Ridwan and Blocky in behind that, and that'll be row 6, with Felix and Lunacy for row 7. And Stingray, a very, very lonely last place, will be starting P8. And we'll take this opportunity again just to go for another short break. It will be a 5-minute interval before we're going again, and I will join you all shortly. And I feel like this is a better time than ever to jump back in. We've got only a few seconds to go before this final is hot and ready to go. And here we go. They are on the grid. And I might just need to fire up the controller so that I can get these. Yep, that's what we want. Okay, let's go back again. Let's run it back one more time. One more time around the Maggiore circuit. Kamara Kid, Staff Turbo, Timmy Ant, Bodhod, and Jamo. That's his top 5. The rest of them, they don't matter yet. And we're off. And Bodhod, has he gotten that start again? He has. So he's just gotten Timmy Ant, Staff Turbo as well. You get down the inside of him. And into turn 1 they go. And he's gone really hot there as Bodhod. And we'll see what Kamara Kid's going to do here. And he's just going to step it a little bit wide. He holds on to P2 here though. And Timmy Ant's out in the dirt. We'll see what else kind of shenanigans are going on back here. There's Ridwan, our championship leader, back in 12th at the moment, fighting every single person under the sun as they file through here into the run down the hill. They're all kicking up the dirt, they're all banging panels, and Stingray as well, getting very sideways back there. But it's Bodhod who is leading this race and will be trying to avoid the concrete walls this time. Staff holding P2 over Jack right now, who is going to slide around the outside here. Staff is pushing him all the way to the curb though, and Staff isn't taking any kind of shit here from the Presland engineering team owner. Staff holds on to P2. And all these guys filing through. Hopefully no more big Tim mistakes through here, as the camera views are having a bit of a meltdown there, and they all file through onto the straight. So there we go. This is as far as we've gotten now without a crash in any of the races, and that is definitely a plus side for the league. And it's Bodhod now, 1.6 actually, so Jack has gotten ahead of Staff now, and so has Tim. All those guys filing through the bowl, and someone was out there very wide, so it's 3 wide here heading in, and this is ugly. I don't really want to see this. Jamo's gone straight into the wall, so I've got not a bloody clue what has just happened to Jamo, and I'm not sure I want to. Do I want to see this again? Let's catch this later. Go back with Bodhod. And there's more happening back here. Staff is being shuffled back even further, so Lane's picked him up. And who's that shooting across the track? It is Kamara Kid, and he has taken someone with him, and it's Roscoe. So Roscoe has come undone, and I feel like this is the perfect time to go back and have a look at what happened to Jamo. Is that Jamo? I would hope so. That is Jamo. And I don't actually know what's happened to Jamo there, and I'm not sure I ever will. That's a little bit odd, but we'll go back now to the leader, and that was absolutely not the pit entry, no, and Jamo might have gotten that one a little bit wrong, but Bodhod's dropped a little bit of his gap here to Jackie Perez, who this time has elected to go with the soft tyres. These two both on softs. Tim as well going for the fast starting strat on softs. And Lane, here we go. So his brainchild may actually be paying off here in the 3rd race, and he's started on the mediums. Staff as well actually is holding on very, very well so far on the soft. So I know he's getting shuffled out a little bit there, but this may be the kind of hard racing he needs just to kind of get his head into game and find his feet now in this season. Porsche hasn't been the kindest of steeds to him so far. But I think this is a very, very good start, and definitely promising for him to be sitting in P5 in this race. So Ryan sitting in P6 with that big Supra, and he's nearly, has he gone for the dive? That's a bit of a late dive there from Ryan, but he's made it work, and he's pulled it up on the mediums. And it'll be his team owner, Bailey Kennedy, who will be the next to go through. And there's no sign of Jamo trying to take the wrong pit entry there, so that's definitely a good sign. As BK now looking down the inside of Staff, and it's oh so close. There's probably a bit of argy-bargy there, and BK has gotten by Staff, and next is the turn of Stingray, who started on the mediums this time as well, because if it works twice, why not a 3rd time, says Stingray, who has now got the nose in front of Staff as well, and dispatches the Revo Man as well. This is going from pretty good to pretty bad for Staff Turbo, who now has the Championship Series leader in behind him, and I don't think Ridwan's going to waste much time getting this one done either. Who fires down the inside. Actually, there's been a lot of lag there, and off goes Staff, and Staff's rejoined in front of Blocky. Oh, it's absolute chaos back here. So Blocky's T-boned Staff, who has now rejoined the race. And I'm not sure Blocky had anywhere to go there, as we'll have a quick look at the replay from Blocky's perspective. So it's all happened out there. Staff's out wide. Oh, and Staff's just tried to regather the car, and he's copped a fair amount of whack there from Lunacy. But again, not sure Lunacy had anywhere to go. And Lunacy now holding P9 with Blocky in behind him at P10. So that was a little bit of shenanigans going on in the middle of our pack. But it's Bodhod now who is still at the front of this pack and will be praying to himself he will not make the same mistakes as last race. And I think his team owner behind him will probably be thinking the exact same thing. I'm not sure Jack would have a single issue with coming in second if it meant that his teammate Bodhod would win this race. Tim, however, would just be thinking, God, I hope these guys crash. And there's not a single thing wrong with that. Speaking of crashing, these guys are trying their absolute hardest to make that happen. As Stingray, Ryan, Ridwan and BK all going at it now for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th respectively. And there's not a lot of respect given at the moment between these guys, although I do say that with a bit of a jokey tone, it must be said. As they're all filtering in behind each other now in the penultimate corner, and they'll dive into the final corner. BK tucked under the rear wing of Ridwan, and he'll take this as a big confidence boost to be tucked under the rear wing of the championship leader right now, who is now deciding to pit. So here we go, it is strategy time, and it's Stingray, Ryan and Ridwan who are rolling the die first, the 3 medium runners. And it's really now go time for these soft guys. Now, important to think as well that that was quite a gap between those guys at the front. Pack of Jackie Pros and Bodhod, who I just realised have switched positions. So we'll see if we can catch that, and it's happened well before, so I've completely missed that, even in my last look at it. And I'm just showing I have the awareness of a turtle in a dark room right now. There's nothing wrong with that because turtles are small and lovable. And I'd like to think they're pretty good race car drivers. And Kamara Kid is somehow in P1 right now, so we will absolutely savour this moment to hang on to the fact that Kamara Kid is currently P1 by a country mile, and he's now been relegated back to P15. But that was a fantastic lap that he did there, because he's just passed the entire field in the space of, you know, a tenth of a second, and then fallen behind them again in the exact same space of time. I'd say that's the highlight of the season for Kamara Kid, and I'm sure he would probably tell you the same thing. These guys, however, will be looking to make a bit more of a highlights package for themselves today, and they're all currently fighting for the win. We will go back and have a look for Stingray, who is still leading this battle train, and these guys were all on the medium tyres, except for Staff, who is currently holding these guys up, and I'm sure to the dismay of Ryan, who is now giving Ridwan a look down the inside, and Ryan puts the big shutters on him. He wasn't having a bar of that, and instead fires one down the inside of Staff, who just politely shuffles in wide and said, "Excuse me, I'll have that position." And Ridwan snatches it as well from his grasp. And here we go, Felix as well diving into the pits. We'll see if there's anyone else. And there's a lot of them. So BK, Lunacy, Blocky and Felix all deciding now is the time. And these soft runners are going to start sweating just a little bit more now that the whole field are coming towards them. So Jack now leading the AMG charge, the 1-2, and he is doing what he needs to right now. Low 55s, not quite as quick as what we've seen in the earlier races, but right now it's enough for P1 and P2 for these AMGs. And Tim has Lane all over him. Lane as well, who, remember, started on the medium tyres once again, and he's going for a bit of an odd strategy. So he's taking these mediums a lot longer into the race than what anyone else did. And he's losing that undercut, so he's not getting the immediate gain from going to the soft tyres. But what he is getting is the absolute sheer speed of the softs towards the end of the race. Now, it didn't really pay off for him the way he probably would have wanted it to last race. So personally, I'm very surprised that he's still going with this. And maybe he thought that he might have just thought that he was held up a little bit, kind of heading towards these guys. So I'll just keep an eye on Lane here and what he wants to do going forward, because this strategy, going with the mediums first, I just feel like that undercut, when you go straight to the softs, is the biggest part of that. And it's the reason this strategy works so well. As we'll just head back. Ridwan's been able to pick his way past Ryan, who has unfortunately let Stingray go in the midst of the staff turbo blocking, although I won't call it blocking. But look at the pace from Ridwan, and look at this happening back here. So Blocky's put the big blocks on Lunacy there, so Lunacy's had to draw back over to the racing line. Blocky's gone wide, so he's out in the marbles. And Felix is going to try to pick him up. Lunacy's got him in the midst, and these guys have all escorted each other wide. And Blocky has gone back to P11. So the guy who was arguably the quickest on track at the end has ended up in P11 out of all of that. And whilst I say that, prying Stingray with a 54.5. And Roscoe into the pit lane, although I may have just seen him cut that pit entry. Which would be the first time we've seen someone do that today. It may have even been Roscoe. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. As back with the lead as we go, just for a short second to check in. Jackie Prez still extending that lead over Bodhod, who has actually just set his fastest lap of the race. So this commitment to the cause by his team owner, hopefully just willing him on a little bit and finding him a little bit more time. Tim, who with a 57.9 last lap, so he's just probably lost a little bit more pace than he's wanted. And Lane has indeed pitted, and importantly, I completely missed that as well, has come out 1.4 ahead of Stingray. So this is your battle for the lead, everyone. This will be the scrap where we see the leader. So Jack had a bit of a lead over these guys, so there's probably maybe 1, 2, even 3 laps that Jack's got up his sleeve where he can still pit and come out ahead of these guys. But that window is rapidly closing as Stingray is trying to make some tracks in the gravel trap back there. But yeah, this is the interesting scrap now. So it's going to be Lane with the penultimate lead, with prying Stingray chasing him down desperately, trying to make it 2 on the trot. And who can ride off Ridwan back there in P6? So this is shaping up to be a very spicy little battle here for the win. Ryan as well, who's shown some great speed today, a 55.5. So he's not quite got it over Stingray, a full second slower than what we've seen for our fastest lap so far tonight. And this is all just starting to come together very, very nicely. As we'll go back now, BK's in a bit of a pocket there of space, and Blocky's been able to get Felix and Lunacy back. And I just can't help but thinking that Blocky's a little bit quicker than these guys right now. A 55.8 last time by. Although that would have been... Actually, is that a 55.8 or is it a 54.7? It is a 55.8. My eyes don't deceive me. And Felix getting it very squirrely there. And just giving Blocky a little bit of breathing room as Lunacy now sniffing all over the back of that GTR. And I think Blocky will probably just try and stretch his legs a little bit here. The Porsche's very good through the mid-corner of this bowl. And you'll see it here if we go on board with Felix. So just got over half a second now. Felix goes in a little bit deeper. And there you see the benefit of the Porsche, who uses all the runoff on the outside. And just nearly takes it over a tenth ahead through that corner alone. The rhythm section as well, not the GTR's strong point. And we'll just watch how Blocky's line is through here, hitting both apexes late. And it's a good run, but actually Felix got that pretty well spot on. So this GTR, it's a bit of a brick in a straight line, very, very draggy car. But it has got some legs when it's trying. And Blocky will be very mindful of that going forward, but he's got to get his eyes forward. He's got to be focusing on BK here. He has definitely got the pace, but Blocky, big mistake there, exited the bowl, and Felix has picked him off. So Blocky maybe just focusing a little bit too much on the cars behind him, and he's just costing himself a good race here. He's just sitting on outside of the top 10, and Lunacy's trying to make it well and truly outside the top 10. Thank you, Bailey. I appreciate it. And you sub to the channel as well. It's not always me commentating on this. This is probably going to be a one-off, to be perfectly honest. But I do tend to share it on Facebook whenever I'm picking this up, just because it's a bit of fun. And the boys really appreciate having someone who actually cares about the commentary up here talking. And of course someone that understands the racing. And I'd like to think I do a bit of both. So thank you again. And we'll just check in again. There's too much going on in the mid-pack. I do not want to spend too much time up with the leaders. That's not to say they're not doing a good job, but Jack, Bodhod and Tim are all just kind of finding their way through this top 3 right now. And Lane still holding on over Stingray. And these guys will just be pushing as hard as they can right now. Lane's got so much rubber underneath him. But look at the time Ridwan's done last time by a 54.2. And you know, if he wasn't so goddamn laggy, I would absolutely go on board with him right now. But instead, we are going to jump on with Lane. That is Stingray, but we'll jump on board with Stingray. We'll just see how he's extracting the pace out of that AMG. 1.4 behind Lane, with 4.5 laps to run. So these guys be very mindful of the gaps ahead and behind. They're incredibly concentrated on the job at hand, but they're very, very, very aware of what they need to be doing to keep the guys behind and chase them. So I'll just shut up for a second and let you enjoy the sweet sound of a Mercedes V8. You thought you'd get a little more than that, wouldn't you? But no, we've had Jack and Bodhod both pit, so the teammates of this man we're on board with have both come in, and this is the rejoin we've been waiting for. So Jack is actually going to come out in the lead, except for Tim, of course, who has stayed out for the absolute maximum that those softs will give him. And so it's Jack who's emerged in the effective race lead, and that has thrown an absolute spanner in the works compared to what I was thinking. And now Lane's got some thinking to do. Of course, these two know each other very well. Lane and Jack were teammates in the last season of P1 eSports, and Jack pushed Lane all the way to that maiden title of his. And of course, the team's championship that they won together. But I don't think there's going to be nearly as much camaraderie between these two right now, because they are fighting for the final race win of the night when it comes to P1 eSports and the Supersprint round at Maggiore. And do not look away for a second. There's only 3.5 laps to go, and these guys are going to go at it. So Jackie Bro's here defending for his life. There's a race win on the line, and Lane's got the run on him. And Jack's going to have to go very deep if he wants to hold this. And he does. Lane taking the high line. And Jack, does he get the block pass done? No, Lane's got the run on him. And Lane takes that effective lead straight away from Jack. And that was a great run coming out of that corner from Lane. That was a fantastic move he got done there. Terrific placement of car, I was trying to say. And that was a very, very satisfying move indeed. And you just got to think Lane probably going to stream away from Jack now, and Jack's just going to have some eyes in the back of his head as his teammate prying Stingray is going to be coming towards him. Tim has made it a final pit stop now, as he's going to come into the end of lap 9. It's now going to be these guys absolutely released for these final 3 laps to see what they can do. And Tim's fallen all the way back here to P10, I believe it'll be. So he's going to come out right out of Lunacy, is it? Oh, right alongside Lunacy. There was nothing between them. And I'm sure there's nothing Lunacy wants to see right now more than a Porsche in Revo colours. In fact, he might as well have 2 of them, one behind and one in front. And I think Lunacy's going to be a little bit sick of my liveries by the end of this one, and I don't blame him. Don't blame him one bit. Lane, however, is going to be... Oh, there we go. Actually, that was a bit of team orders there. So Jack has released the shackles on car 70, 78. 78, it's definitely 78. And he's going to be allowed to run for the hills and try to get Lane. We'll see how that goes for him. But Jack's got bigger problems now. That GDR is hounding large in his rearview mirrors. And Ridwan is going to be coming at him. I'm not sure he's got the tyre life. There was a bit of a change of position back there as well, actually. Yes, that was BK dropping back actually a few positions. So BK and Blocky going out, Blocky stepping sideways as well. There's so much going on in this mid-pack. There's a lot to keep up with. And we're just going to have to keep an eye on the timing boards here to see if anything happens with Ridwan jumping into P3, because these guys are making it very, very difficult to look away right now. With this awesome battle, you've got Ryan stretching his legs now, running away from these guys, but Felix, Blocky, BK, Lunacy, and Tim has just fallen off a little bit, unfortunately. But these 4 cars have been glued together all race, and I don't think there's anything we'd rather see. GDR, 911, Supra, and BRZ. So nearly all of the cars represented in this small little pack. In fact, we're only missing the AMG. Going forward here, back to the top 4. 2, 3, and 4 separated by no more than 2 seconds right now. And Lane, of course, just a little bit further ahead in that BRZ. Ridwan still lagging the house down, of course, was involved in a small incident with Staff. And it was his contact with Staff, actually, that led to the contact that cost Blocky a fair bit of time as well. And you got to wonder as well, would Blocky be further inside the top 8 had that not happened? And Blocky's no stranger to calling out Ridwan for his lag, and I'm not sure he'd be afraid to do it as well. So Jack here, going defensive on Ridwan, and I'm sure these guys know they're on stream right now. Ridwan's going to go for the outside. What can he do around here? He's going to deep. Nice little stutter there. And Jack's trying to defend it, but he just can't do it well enough. And Ridwan finds the space where I did think there wasn't he. And I think he's taken a move out of the Lane Everighan playbook there, because that was very reminiscent of what we saw Lane do to Jack. And Jack's probably sick of that move, but he's not sick of putting the nose down there. Camera works pretty shoddy, but Jack has thrown that card in the inside, and Ridwan's able to take to the escape. It's a little bit forceful actually from Jack. We'll just have a look at that one. And I don't think there was anything in it. It was a very opportunistic move. Terrible run off the corner from Ridwan. And to be honest with you, I mean, how could you not go for that move? Yep, I don't see a whole lot wrong with that. That is very opportunistic from Jack, but in a fight for a podium, what else are you going to do? 1 lap remaining now for these guys. And it is do or die time. If you want to stand on that podium, you'd probably need a mind a little bit better than mine to find out the round points right now. So I will leave that to the Discord later on. But you'd probably be having a bit of a safe bet to say Stingray or Lane would be taking out your overall round win. My money's on Stingray. Although your money for this race, I think, is pretty safely put with Lane, who has been an absolute mastermind with what he's achieved this race. That BRZ, definitely not the quickest thing on track, but easily the smartest, I would say. Strategy's been very well placed, and Lane has been very frugal on his tyres. He left it late. I called it very early, then I said this was a bit of an odd strategy to be jumping onto the soft so late, but look how it's worked out for him. This track position has been everything, and it's ultimately given him a race win. Prying Stingray will probably be a little bit cross with a couple of decisions he's made earlier on, although being let through by Jack, probably a bit of a saving grace, as he's been able to go hunting for Lane. Ultimately unsuccessful, but P2 is a very nice haul of points. Jack, who's still holding on over Ridwan with only a handful of corners remaining. Just go back and check on these guys. Bod, Hod, Felix, Ryan, Blocky, all still locked together. BK has dropped off these guys big time, actually. So BK's been involved in something, because he's now behind Lunacy and P10. And he's slammed into the wall there, following Lunacy in. So these guys are just going absolutely hell for leather. They're on the final lap now of our night. But it's Lane who's crossing the line in P1. Fantastic race from Lane there. It's going to be Stingray who holds on to P2 from Jack, who closed up that gap a lot. Ridwan in P4. What could have been for Ridwan if he'd just been a little bit more aggressive. Bodhod with P5, making up for his mistakes of last race. Felix in P6, Ryan in P7, Blocky, the first of the Revo cars in P8. Lunacy P9, and it's BK who rounds out your 10. Tim, the second of the Revo cars in P11. A night to forget for Tim. And it is Jamo and Roscoe right now going for P12. And probably say Jamo will hold on to this one. Roscoe would need something pretty special to steal it from here. And Dynamite is already out of the room. So Dynamite very, very unhappy with what transpired here tonight. But it's Jamo and Roscoe 11th and 12th. and Staff Turbo, who will come across for P13. He's got 40 seconds just about through to Camaro Kid. And he's just jumping on the anchors here for the final corner. Staff, who has endured a very much of a learning night here at Maggiore. Not an easy track to pick up, and a very easy one to go astray. And it's Camaro Kid here, who's just going to be taking it easy, bringing it to the line. And I think we'll have been happy to show a little bit of his pace at the start of this race, but maybe not so happy to have had it ended the way that he did. So we'll go back up and just appreciate the race winner one more time, Lane Everingham, who is going to be making this championship one to remember, and will close in the gap to Ridwan, the championship leader, who only the one win for Ridwan tonight, so won the first one. Of course, Stingray picked up the second, and Lane with the third. A nice even spread of race wins there, but it's Lane who draws final blood in the Motul BRZ GT300, and he'll go out a race winner at Maggiore. And one more time, let's just have a look at our race results and run you through them one final time for the night. So it's Lane P1, Prying Stingray picks up second after a race win in the second race, and Jackie Preslin, the final step on the podium for P3, makes it 2 AMGs on the podium. Ridwan, our championship leader and race 1 winner in P4, and Bodhod makes up for his mistakes of race 2 to round out the top 5, and that is a very, very strong race for Jackie Prez. And I might just see, actually, if I can get Jackie Prez in here, because all round I feel like that was a fantastic showing of strategy for those guys. Try and get him in a separate little party. I'll see if he doesn't just want to jump in here. Might as well add it into the back of the commentary. Always good to go back and have a quick little chat with one of the podium sitters. Oh, and the host has ended the game early, so just gonna have to hop out of here real quick. And I might just have to cut it short there, to be honest. Not sure we're going to be able to grab him in. That was a great night of racing at Maggiore, and thank you all very much for joining in. It was a pleasure to be commentating for that round. I'm not sure I'll be back again, but we did have a lot of fun there tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the racing. These guys are improving every single week and put on a great show. I hope to see you again on another week. And from me, thank you, have a great night, and take care.